I'm Dr. Jillian Lucas Baker. I'm a professor, a wife, and a mom, and I've struggled with fertility issues.
I'm Sinora Allwood, a holistic nurse, health coach, entrepreneur, wife, and mom. And I've also struggled with fertility issues.
Welcome to A Tribe Called Fertility. All right, listeners. So welcome to A Tribe Called Fertility and welcome to our episode today. And I am super, super excited with our special guest that we have today. So first up, I want to take a moment to introduce my beloved sister from another mother, Dr. Zupenda Davis-Shine, who wears many hats like all of us. I may not have even gotten all of her hats right, but let's just see. So she has 20 years of experience in applying social and behavioral science and public health practice to program development, delivery, evaluation, and training at local and national levels. For all of you that don't know, her background is in HIV, domestic violence prevention, reproductive and sexual health. Right now, she's the director of health education at the Burlington County Health Department in New Jersey. And in addition to that, she is the owner of Shining Moments Event Planning, which I'll let her talk about later. Um, and we have a lot in common. Zupenda and I met in the HIV prevention world in Philadelphia when we were working on different research programs and recruiting people for projects. And we always seemed to talk to somebody that knew her or knew me. And then funny story is that I used to work with her husband at Penn when we were doing adolescent HIV programs in middle schools in Philly. So I've known her husband, I think, since I was 22. So I think I might have known Randy before she did, potentially. Yeah, I did. See, there we go. And then fast forward, Zupenda and I end up being in the same doctoral program in public health at Drexel University in Philly. And then somehow her husband was in the program too. She'll tell you about that. And then that's how they met. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Zupenda and I used to work together at LaSalle University. We helped create the Masters of Public Health program and their Bachelor's of Science in Public Health program. She is the best work wife I ever had in my life. If I could hire her to be my work wife, I would. She always took care of me. She would go to Starbucks, knew what kind of coffee I liked, but she's a tea person. She knows that I'm not good with numbers. I'm not good with days or dates. And she'd be like, Jill, no, this meeting is on Friday, April 25th, not April 24th. You got it wrong. Fix it. But would never get mad at me, but she knew how I was. So what else? We have so much in common. Both our husbands are Libras, so we have a lot of great conversation about that. And now I have moved to Jersey, and now I'm like 8 minutes away from her. So we are super, super close, which is crazy. So that's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to pass it over to Sonora, who's going to introduce Crystal.
All right. So now I have to follow that wonderful introduction.
While drinking wine, but go ahead.
Right. But it's my pleasure to introduce my sister friend of, oh my goodness, I think maybe our whole lifetime, right? I think at least 30 plus years of friendship, Miss Crystal Goliday. Crystal is also called the Fun Finder for Education. She has her master's in science, and she also has her master's in business administration. Crystal got not one, not two, but 3 degrees for free. And she's also the author of How to Get a College Degree for Free. Crystal is also the founder of her nonprofit, Never Underestimate Knowledge. So as I said, Crystal is my sister friend. We actually grew up together in Co-op City in the Bronx. We lived in the same building, building 27C in Urban Place.
27.
We actually attended the same high school. We would ride the bus together in the mornings. We studied together. We were co-captain of our high school step team. We choreographed routines together. So that was many days dancing in either my living room or sometimes we meet in the basement. We partied together. We've had so many like firsts together. Crystal's dad and her mom were a big part of my life as well. Just, so influential in who we were as human beings, and always invested in our outcome. And her dad was always there, like giving us rides to like skate key and things of the nature when we were growing up, the Mount Dance or what have you was going on. And all while Crystal's mother was busy being just a pillar in our community, a great example of a strong Black woman, and instilling the importance of education in all of us. Crystal has now founded scholarship funds to honor her mother as well. And I'm happy to have been a part of that effort. Crystal is also one of my biggest cheerleaders. You couldn't ask for a better friend and a better support system. Yeah, Crystal's the best. So I'm just so honored, hence why I'm so nervous, but so honored to have her part of this today and have all of you ladies here today. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
A good place to start would be, and it's something that the four of us have a lot in common, but I think a good place that we can all start with Zupenda and Crystal being able to share more specifically getting married, and then right after you get married, and one of the first questions that happens right after you get married, and we all know it, well, when are you having a baby?
Yeah.
Right?
The crazy thing is that my husband and I dated for 5 years. So imagine people are like, okay, so when do you get married? And my mom skipped that question and was like, well, when are you having a baby? Like, when am I going to have my grandchild? And
like, forget the marriage.
Listen, I wasn't born out of wedlock, so I want to be married. And we have the baby shark here. My king is
baby shark. That's right. Let's do the baby shark remix.
Okay.
That wasn't what you were talking about?
Okay. I know them all. No.
That goes down, yeah, from Monster Jam. So
people. Right.
My mom was like, well, when are you having a child? And I'm like, I wasn't born out of wedlock, so I don't want my child being born out of wedlock. And matter of fact, this is before my husband and I were married and knew each other. I said, can a man find me? Like, I don't want to just be with anybody to have your grandchild. So, and there's just pressures from different people that we were getting to get married. And I had people like try to date me when they were engaged and stuff. And I was like, if he wants to marry me, then he's going to ask when it's the right time. And if not, then we'll take it how we take it, or we move forward how we move forward. But I'm not going to pressure nobody to marry me. Like, I'm not. I've seen relationships, like different types of relationships, even though my parents was even separated, but still commingled. Now it's multi-family kind of situation. Yeah, his granddaddy, yes, and Bubbles. All right. Yeah, I'm going to put myself on pause, but I'm here.
So it's so funny that she talks about pressure from family, because my family knows me. I didn't get pressure from my family. They they never asked, when are you having kids? Because they like, Zupenda's not having no kids. We already know that. So there was no expectation. And I'm the baby girl of 3. The oldest has 2 kids. I mean, they're grown. Well, one just got her driver's permit, and I'm like, I'm getting old. And the other one just turned 25. But me and the middle child, now the middle sister, she will babysit and love babies and does the itsy bitsy spider and all of that. I'm the condom, pedicure, manicure, spa aunt. I don't do itsy bitsy spider. I never changed a diaper in my life. You don't know how to wipe yourself. We're not going to the movies. If I have to like leave out the movies or take somebody to the bathroom, I have a whole attitude. I am not that aunt. If you can't wipe yourself and pee by yourself, we don't go. So
I'll go to the manicure and pedicure spot. You can take
we can do that and talk about boys and girls and all the things. Like, I remember buying my nephew the It's Perfectly Normal book. He was like 6.
Okay, but wait. So let's pause for a second.
Mhm.
Share with our listeners,
Mhm.
Zupenda,
Mhm.
when did you know for sure that you did not want to have children? At what point? Like, when did you know for sure?
I just knew.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of it, and it probably is growing up in Camden, you saw a lot of unintended pregnancies, and it was just like, and back then it was kind of like if
Mhm.
a young girl was pregnant, it was like, oh God, you don't hang with her. It was like a whole big
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's like, oh, my daughter's 13, she's pregnant, we having a whole baby shower, the
Oh
whole
yeah, when we
like
were growing
it's
up, it was
Yeah.
the
totally
same thing. There was
changed.
a lot of shame.
So
So true.
I
Like, don't
just
hang with
I
her.
just saw like
Mm-hmm.
the young girls looked at negatively,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then just I don't know, I think a big part of it, real talk, and going to therapy for it, but real talk, losing my mom at a very young age when I was 10. And my mom, loved me and my sister. She felt like she couldn't take care of us and gave us to my grandmother. Thank God that's what she did.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh wow, what if I have a kid and then decide like I don't want to take care of it or I can't take care of it?
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with me. I think that has part of it. So it was I was never given a good reason why you should have kids.
Okay.
Like
Hmm.
my grandmother, she got married specifically because she wanted kids. But I never
Yeah.
saw a reason, or if I did see kids, it would be kids wigging out in the store or crying. Like I never, or I would see like a baby and be like, oh, it's cute. Confession, I love baby feet. I love
There's something
baby
about
feet.
baby
They're
feet.
soft
Yeah.
There's
and
something about
fat
baby
and
feet.
cute. That's my
Smell
one
The
thing.
good.
People
smell,
be
the
like, you like
size.
Feel
baby feet?
good.
Yes.
But that's about it. So I think
Yep.
I just always knew.
Mhm.
There was a probably 3-month part of my 47 years where I was like, oh, a baby. But I don't know if it was like the whole raising of a child. I think it was like me being pregnant for some reason. I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
Like I thought about it and I would see it in the person that I was with for some weird reason because he was crazy. Um, I had those feelings for him for some reason. And
Hmm.
then they went away and we broke up or whatever. And then my thinking was, well, I really don't want to have a kid, but if I get married and he wants one, I could have just one. Why not? And I remember saying that to my grandma, and she was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on now. She was like, you definitely don't want to do that because even if you're married, she was like, you're still going to be responsible for that kid. I don't care how active the father is, how married
That's
you are, how together
right.
you are. When
That's
something
that
happens, that kid
grandma
is going to call for a mommy.
wisdom right
What's
And
that
there.
I bet,
saying?
She
Mama's
knows.
baby, Papa's maybe.
yes.
It's the truth.
But yeah, when she told me, that was the best advice she gave me. And for a while, I was on the fence of, I don't, I'm on the fence about having a kid, but leaning more towards no. And then I had to have a talk to myself and said, do you really see yourself with a kid? And I was like, no. And I'm like, okay, now that you're honest with yourself, let's talk to this man who I've been dating for a couple of years, who I think is going to ask me to marry him. And he's mentioned he wants at least one kid. I was like, let
Yeah.
me talk to him before we get engaged, or he think we're gonna have a kid,
Right.
and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm on the other side of the fence. Sorry. So yeah, but I always knew.
So
Wow.
that man is your now husband,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so how did that go? How did the conversation,
Great question.
yeah.
So
Hi, Randy. Hi, Randy.
Right?
I know, right? I know he's in there doing magic. But
Okay.
I don't even
He's a
know.
magician.
I don't even know. Like we would always have, you had those conversations. Like we would have conversations. Like if we were to have kids, what would that look like? Oh, I would love them to have locks and this, that, and the other. We would talk about religion. I would talk about vaccines. He would talk about no vaccine. And I'm like, oh, that's reason too why I don't want to. We're not going to agree on this. Okay. Um, and so I told him, like, first I was saying, like I said, leaning more towards no. And I said, babe, I really need to talk to you. I've been really thinking about it. I truly don't think I'm going to have kids. And I'm like, and it's probably 99.9% not going to change.
Mm.
So I wanted to tell you that because I know you've mentioned that you wanted at least one, but I'm not going to change my mind. And I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I'm not trying to pressure you, but I wanted to be upfront with you because if you really can't picture your life without kids, then as much as I would hate to lose you, I would rather it happen now versus we get married, is year 2, you wait for me to have a kid, and I'm like, So I had to be transparent, and he said to me that he wanted me more. And I was like, wow. But I had conversations. I had conversations with him before the ring, after the ring,
no, but this
months
is she
before
had
the
multiple
wedding,
conversations
like
different
the week
time
before
points.
the wedding, like real talk. Before I get to you walking down the aisle and you do like I know me. I know we all do. We do this fast forward. We meet a guy. We done fast forward.
We already seen
we figured it all out.
The wedding, and you see all the stuff, right?
Right, Crystal? Yeah.
Bridal party.
Everything. You see everything, right? Yeah. And so I was like, if for some reason you do a fast forward and you like seeing us and you see a kid and you like, and I was like, literally, real talk, meet me halfway. And he was like, I was like, no, don't mean to be dramatic, but I'm serious. I was, we will do what Eddie Murphy, excuse us, for real. I was like, for real, we will just go out and have a conversation. And I was like, because I don't want you to be unhappy or going into this thinking that I'm going to change my mind when I'm not. So if for any reason at any point before we say I do, that this changes for you, please let me know.
I love that.
Here we are. It'll be 6 years we've been married.
I just think
July.
that, I mean, I've heard this so many times, and I've been there when this was, occurring. And I just think that it takes so much courage. Number one, it takes self-love, and number one. And then number two, it takes so much courage. Because even after you guys got engaged, you could have been like, you know what? I'm not going to bring this up anymore because I already got my ring and we got a date and we got a place and you just kept still asking him.
I kept still asking it because it was one of those things where he's excellent with kids.
Oh, he's a magician.
Magic. He's so a magician. I know Crystal probably heard me say he's doing a magic show. You were like,
no, he is a magician, Crystal.
Yeah. Jill, he did
Gavin and Gemma's 5th birthday party at their daycare. And I surprised them. They didn't know. And he showed up at their school and did a magic party. And I was mom of the year that year, I think I was. So for that, just for Randy coming to
I can imagine.
He's excellent with kids, and not even just performing. Like he knows what to say. Like for me, kids make me nervous. I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm saying something stupid. Like I just don't even know what to do. Like I'm just like give me a teenager, but a kid, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know.
Okay, what to do. First of all, you tell the listeners what happened when the first day you came to our house.
I heard this
with Mr. 1.5-year-old Amari.
So
tell the listeners what happened, because that's not true.
So over at the house, and we're in the kitchen, and so we're there's Mr. Man. So we are at the stove, we're talking and everything, and so like behind me to my left is like the basement, and there was a gate up for the kids, and I guess Amari did something to the gate, or
no, because he could open the gates.
Oh, okay, so he could open the gate.
Yeah, they learned.
So my back is to him the whole time, and I don't know if it was because he got quiet. I don't know what it was, but something signaled, and I just remember going over there and just reaching and grabbing him before he
fell.
Did he fall?
No, you grabbed him before he was about to. He was about to fall down the basement steps.
Wow. And that was it. And I like grabbed him, and of course I scared the mess out of him. I'm like, oh my God, did I break your arm? Like it was like it was just so fast, and I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? I was like, I know you're upset, but you almost fell. And I was like, oh, go over.
Yeah, she didn't even look. That's like the real mother instinct. When you don't even need to look, but your child, and you're like,
and I felt like she did that. I felt pretty human, because you feel weird. You feel weird hard when you're like, there's all these women that want kids that are paying thousands of dollars to get pregnant or all these different things. And I'm like, oh God, I don't think I want anything that bad.
Wow.
And I felt,
I feel like that's
it is
society.
society.
It's like making it seem like, okay, you have to grow up, you have to get married, you have to have a child. And it's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't want that.
Right.
So let people live in their own true calling.
Right.
Absolutely.
But when people question you, are you sure you don't want to have kids? You got to have just one. Well, I'm going to pray about it for you. Don't pray about it.
I didn't ask you to pray about it.
Like, no, do not pray for that.
I just
God knows the desires of my heart. I
used to be one of those people.
You're one of those people?
I guess just from my perspective, I've like always wanted to be a mommy. Like I was the one, like, get me my child, get me the stroller, get me the little kitchen
set
up.
I had like 6 Cabbage Patch Kids.
You know,
exactly.
A
set of twins, which is crazy.
You know? But like, I don't know. I've always seen my life that way. I think I've seen that before I could even see career. And that's always been, that's always just been like what I wanted to do. So I've done it. I've done it to my sister. I've done it to friends. And then when I couldn't get pregnant, I was like, oh God, because now everybody was doing it to me.
Right. You know why don't you have a baby yet?
Right. I definitely was one of those people, but a conversation with Zupenda really opened up my mind because I realized I was still kind of putting pressure on my little sister a little bit. And I didn't mean to. I just, you know, like
and it's because, I mean, you have so much joy in it, and most women do want kids. And so it's like, you want people to be happy, whether it's going back to school, getting a career, getting married, having a family, or having a family without getting married, or whatever the case may be.
Getting a COVID vaccine.
You want
if that's your choice.
I have my second.
That too.
Or not.
Or not.
You know,
whatever
you want those
whatever
things,
you want.
Right. When you find joy in something, you want people to experience the same thing. Right. And so I feel like you were being big sis and kind of saying like, you know, you check in. That's what you do.
But now big sis is like,
all right, I gotta fall
hold
back.
Up. Yeah, let me
fall back.
Because it's because it would literally be like 10, 15 questions. And I would be like, oh my God, enough with the questions. I'm not freaking having any. Stop asking me. And Randy would be like, every time somebody asks you if you're having kids, you always got this real strong response. I'm like, well, many times you're in the room too, and you're not saying nothing.
Right.
So unless you got a different answer, maybe you got a different answer. Then I'm like, oh, don't answer it. I don't want to know. Or if you do have a different answer, let me know, because you can have a kid. It ain't going to be with me. So and that was my thing, where I would just be like, you know, so when you guys having kids? And it's like cricket chirp. And I'm looking at him like, well, since I don't answer if I don't answer the questions appropriately, then this is where you need to come in and say, no, we've decided not to. And I even asked him, he goes, why do you get so upset? I said, Randy, I get asked 15, 20 questions. When
it's the woman that gets asked the most.
I said, when you say you're not having kids, what do they say to you? Oh, okay, cool. They don't ask you, why are you sure, and all these other questions. Nope. And then I also said, what was it? I was like, they don't ask you all these other questions. And then, oh man, I forgot. But anyway, I was like, they don't ask you all these other questions. So, which is why I get upset. So I said, it's very annoying and frustrating. And I almost feel like there's something wrong with me because I don't want to have kids. And I was like, that's just not a good feeling, you know? And I said, people don't ask you that. And I said, if they ask you, how come, what do you say? Oh, I just tell them it's for personal reasons. And I was like, and that's not the right answer.
But that's also not going to work if a female says it. People are going to be like,
boom.
Well,
I said, personal reasons means I can't get pregnant. You can't get pregnant.
Right.
If you say we've decided to be child free, then ain't no further questions, Your Honor. Like, that's it. But if you're like, oh, it's personal reasons, then they're going to be like, maybe somebody can't do something. Maybe something's wrong.
Right.
Right. So I feel like it's a personal choice. But if you say personal reasons, I feel like that gives something else. So
that's so true. And that's true. Kind of covers other, gets people's wheels turning, right? So now, Crystal, you and I just had this conversation, and I guess coming off of the conversation with Zupenda, it opened up, my eyes, and I was grateful that I had the conversation with you after, because I had a different level of like sensitivity. Because you talked about it. And I'm like, wait, no more kids? And you were like, nope, one and done. So tell us about that, because you wanted children, obviously. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wanted children. I wanted like 3 to 5 children. But after, I did at 25, 27, and 29.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't quite work out, but I did have my first property at 25. So that could be like my baby. I don't know. So
that counts as a baby.
Yeah.
As expensive as a baby.
I didn't have my little one to 34, and I made 35 the following month. So didn't quite work out with the timing, but I went career route. The man found me later when we were both in grad school, and that was that. But for me, it was labor and delivery. I was in labor for 30 hours and 37 minutes for labor and delivery. And then I approached my husband after so I know you're one of 6. My mom's only child and my dad's oldest of 3. And I said I wanted 3 to 5. But after this right here, I don't know. Because I was cussing like a sailor. I don't cuss like that.
Yeah.
Well, you have every right to say whatever you want to say.
Oh, Crystal does not curse. She's always been like that.
But I asked him, I was like, did I poop on myself? Like, he wouldn't tell me. Like, I wanted to know what happened, because this is the last experience, buddy. And he still won't tell me to this day. But
you pooped on yourself.
I always wanted to know, because some people
it happens.
I don't know if I
saw my niece being born. I've seen every bodily fluid from my sister. We are foreverly bonded,
right?
I need to say it though. The man that I married, the man that I have relations with, just to let me know. But he didn't tell me that. But it was labor and delivery, so I still get pressure like, oh, you're so good with kids. Oh, you should have another one. Give him a friend. I mean, somebody to hang out with. Even during the COVID times, my husband was like, well, maybe we should adopt. I said, whoa, what? Huh? I said, outside about to open back up. Like he's like, no, somebody his age now. And I'm like, no, because you got to think about it. Like, there's a whole lot of other stuff that go along with it. How's he gonna feel and all that? Like, and I just want to be there to give him all that I can, and then give him the best life. And I want to live my life again. Like, I want to, not saying I'm not living now, but I feel like I'm just finding myself, and he's 5. Like, getting back to me.
Oh, it takes that long, like 4 to 5.
Yes, Jill, we were talking about this, right?
And then my mom passed in the end of 2019, right before COVID, and my last living parent, and that was really like hard on me. I'm her only child. I had to handle everything. I did everything well, but it was just like, to bring another child in with no grandparents, not that made a difference. My mom was great and covered all, for quadrants from the paternal and the maternal side, because my husband's parents were deceased prior to me even meeting him. And it was just like the financial aspect, the emotional aspect, the just being there aspect, the physical aspect. Like, I have my snapback, but it fluctuates periodically. And just the energy, like, I just made 40. Like, I work out now. I could still pick him up and stuff like that, and we could do things. But he runs fast, and I have another one. I don't know, and I'm not having another one. So it's just with me. Like, when people ask, I'm like, "Whoa, I'm one and done. Let's shut this down right here." Oh, you want me to have one more? Are you gonna pay for it? Are you gonna be there? Like, are you gonna you moving in? Like, you gonna have a child? What's gonna happen? So I've hit them with all of that, and they like, "Oh, okay, you one and done. Let me just not have you anymore." And she's good.
Right. And I think that plays a part too, of just seeing people like, I can come and go and club and party and all the things. And every once in a while, was that person that kid? Oh no, I gotta watch the baby. All right, I'm out. Like, I never, and either I guess how I was brought up and seeing people and like seeing it being a barrier, being young, like, I can't do this and have fun. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not doing that. And I was like, I could see me as that woman. They were like, she all dressed up and her kid looking all crazy. I was like, I could probably be that mom. And I was like, yeah, that's not fair to the kid. And I just didn't see my life in that way. And and there are some people that had kids young that now are my age. Their kids are like going to college and everything. And
my
I'm
best
like,
friend.
oh, you really
living
having
a life
fun now.
And
then I got married at 42. So I'm like, the shop is definitely not opening. I'm like, no. And the crazy thing is, like, I was on the pill forever, and then
So yeah,
something
let's
that I
talk
was
about birth
Yes.
control. And so with these decisions, so what have
yeah.
you used to,
Right.
control
So
these
I was on the
decisions?
pill forever since I was what, 16, 17.
I'm sure we all were on the
Wasn't
pill at
wasn't
some time.
regular, wanted to be regular, doing different things, to make sure I wasn't getting pregnant. Was on the pill. And then I don't know, life busy. Every once in a while I would forget. And I'm like, how are you forgetting something that you've been taking every day for half your life? And then I was like, okay, you're gonna mess up and look up on Thursday and the pills on Monday and be like, oh snap.
Right.
See,
So
like, with that, I had to like do the IUD route because I wasn't. Come in.
He's okay.
It's all
He wants
right.
to be with
Kids
me.
are welcome here.
So like
we get
I
it.
wasn't doing it every day, so I had to have a conversation with my OBGYN, like, listen, what's my other options?
Yep.
And they told me the different options and the two IUDs, and I said I wanted is it Moderna?
Mirena.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The two M's. I'm getting the Moderna vaccine.
That's right.
Right. And then Mirena. Yeah, girl.
So
Eminem.
the reason why I chose that one, I surveyed my friends. I'm on a mommy tax, but then also my mom had endometrial cancer. That was the first type of cancer she had. So I was like, okay, like in certain, like I'm working with Sinora. I'm like, I don't like medicine. I don't want anything inserted. Like, and I really was a hard decision. And they even called me earlier to get it. And I was like, whoa, I'm not ready. You can't just spring this on me and tell me to come tomorrow.
Not yet.
Like, I'm not coming. You're going to keep it at the end of the month. So I ended up doing that. But then before my appointment, my husband was like, well, why don't you just take your pill every day? I said, but I'm not.
Right.
And then when you want to come, it's come near me, not
right.
Right.
You know, it's kind of
You're
like
okay. It's an adult show.
Either one.
I had to like pull out or like no like and I don't want to do that because like when you're married,
Risky.
like that's something that you do together. So
Yeah.
even
about
now,
Bridgerton.
yeah, even now it's kind of like with my fibroids, they said it's a little bit lower, and I know this maybe to TMI, so I did an ultrasound, so they were like they wanted me to come back, which I do think they normally do a checkup to see where it's at.
The placement.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't even want to do anything until after then. I ain't telling what the date was when we interact again. But it's
That
just
was
like,
me too.
I'm on the edge right now. Like the 24th ain't here yet, so let me keep my distance. But so yeah, that's where I'm at right now with it because. Come on, that's where I'm at with it right now because I'm on it.
And I made the same decision, and here I go. So I had the conversation with him talking about getting snipped, and it was like no, and I was like, why not? Because no, I don't know, and I'm like, here we go. And often the I don't know answer is the answer he gives when he doesn't want to have a deep conversation, and I'm like, why don't you do know? And I was like, just tell me what it is. It can be even because you don't want nobody in the air. Like, just tell me what it is. And he's like, well, I don't, he's not a person that really believes in and does a medicine thing and all that either. He was like, well, I don't want to do a surgery that's unnecessary. And I was like, okay. So
yeah, when I asked him, I was like, well, you can get snipped. And he was like, he didn't respond at all. I said that
right. They feel like it's an attack on their manhood.
The first response, like you said, was the blank, like nothing. And I was like, I asked you a question. Hello. And then here I go. Well, you know what? When I go forget this IUD inserted, he's gonna come in the room with me so he can see this whole crime scene.
That you have to go through.
That will change his mind. Not at all. I'm like, so you saw all types of stuff, and they recommend that you go while you're on your cycle for easy insertion.
I did, and it still hurt.
It was the worst pain ever. Like, I cried. I yelped. It was so bad. And after all that, the whole thing, and I'm like, wow, I might have to, because at this time I had the Skyline. I'm like, I'm gonna really have to go through this in another 3 years. And I had to really think about it because I did not want to go through that again. So I have the Mirena, so at least I have it for a little bit longer. But I was like, wow, like even said something to him like, wow, so that was pretty bad, and I really don't want to go through that again. And it was like, I'm like, wow, okay, so screw me and screw you. All right, fine.
Well, you know what's crazy? Like I went by myself, just thinking like, oh, they said it's not gonna hurt, it's just gonna feel like cramps. And my husband was like, well, he did ask, like, well, you gonna go by yourself? I was like, well, what we gonna do with our little one? Like, is you have school,
Right.
he has school, you have work or whatever. I'm gonna go, say it's outpatient, just like cramps, I can handle it. Well, your girl got hot with the 2 masks on. Then the placement and my fibroids, it kind of reminded me of pregnancy because they were like, depending on where my fibroids were, would determine where, if I would have to have a C-section. I didn't have to. I was able to have my prince vaginally, but it was just kind of like a lot of flashbacks. And then I'm there by myself and I'm like, and the COVID, they had me waiting too long. And I'm like, I had an appointment, I was early, I'm on time, I checked in, like, what's up? So it was just a lot of things compounded. And when I left, I went to go get something to eat and just sat in the car. He called me. He was like, and I broke down and cried because it was just kind of like, as women, this sucks. Like all the things that we have to go through,
right?
Society with the people asking us, and then stuff like this, and then the whole Aunt Flo coming every month, and it's just a lot. And then even with parenthood and just the societal pressures we have just in the corporate world, because I came in a male dominated field, engineering. It's just a lot of different things, and it just the weight of everything just came on me. And Sinora talked to me the following day or something. I talked with her, and she didn't even know I had a procedure because I didn't even tell anybody. And she was like, you can call me. You can say. I was like, I know, but
because I knew what she went through it, and it was like, you have to go through that by yourself. But
that insertion is no.
I remember because me and Zupenda, we might have talked that the day you got it or the day after. We definitely talked the day after.
Wow.
And you told me.
I just found like the similarities in your stories, even though, Crystal did once want children, like, and you never did. Like the similarities to me stood out in the fact of going through contraception. Like you're really adamant on your choice and why not? You know what I mean? And I applaud both of you ladies because it takes a lot of strength to really stand in your truth, you know what I mean? And then have to defend it over and over again to the world. You know what I mean?
Exhausting. But it's just imagine if, like if, you're like, let's say if you guys say you want to have more kids, and I'll be like, well, why? You'll be like, because I want to. Like, what you mean? What you mean? Why? And I'm like, but are you sure?
But COVID is the eye opener for me. Like with me, just having one, I'm like, okay, cool. It's just us. I don't have to worry about other stuff. Granted, it'd be nice to have somebody to play with him, but we'll get over that. When weather's nice, we go outside. But some people are like, I can't take it with my multiple kids, and I have to work, and I have to handle distance learning,
hard.
and people like have the schools open up, but I'm like, you got to think about the teachers too, and the administration. They have families or preconditions and all that. So I knew my limit. Where I've seen people struggle with having like 4 kids, multiple baby daddies, and all that other stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through fighting somebody that I made this decision with.
Right.
And over the years that our child is born, because a child doesn't ask to be here, and it's just I just knew I didn't want that for me. I didn't want to stay in New York. I knew that from jump, and I knew that I did want to have multiple kids, but after having the one and going through all of that with my body, the pregnancy was great. Just labor and delivery, I was like, yeah, not sis.
No. The labor and delivery.
I would talk with myself, and once my husband was like, yeah, that was you who wanted multiple kids, I was like, oh, cool.
That wasn't me.
There's a selective amnesia.
Right? I tell you.
And the crazy thing is, I was in the delivery room when my niece was born, and it was the most beautiful, amazing experience. But it was just like, wow, that was beautiful and amazing
for you.
Right. Well, you were one of the first people that came to see Amari.
I know.
After
I was like, oh, wash my hands, I'm holding the baby. Then maybe after 5 minutes, I was like, okay, small, take it back. I'm done. I'm back.
When they start crying.
He was good. I was just like, I'm holding the baby. I was like, okay. But it's so funny, like when I say to people, like, I've never changed a diaper before. Oh my God, you never changed a diaper before? I'm like, am I really missing out?
No.
Like, is it that much of an exhilarating experience? It's not zip lining. It's not skiing or getting on a roller coaster.
It's not an orgasm.
It's changing a smelly diaper and pee that might end up in your face. I think I can die without changing a diaper. I think I'm okay, right?
I mean, you become a professional after a while, but there's a reason we celebrate when we no longer have to buy diapers, right? It's like a party.
Jill knows, and I was going to get a shirt that says "No kids, no pets, no plants." I finally got a plant. Wow. I don't even want to show y'all the plant. Poor baby. Poor baby. She's still alive. What's left of her? Poor thing.
But I think that just like really, like Jill, like you said, this takes a tremendous amount of self-love. You know what I mean? And to me, I really commend y'all, and it's opened up my eyes, and it's helping me to fight for more things that I want. Because if you can have the conviction to stand, you know, in this and have to fight the whole world,
decision, your conviction, and your gut, and your
I draw strength from that.
I wanted to add something. The other part of it is it is the whole your decision and who you're with or were with and so forth. And I was dating someone before my husband and broke up with me. I never really, you know how somebody break up with you, you don't really get a concrete reason and they don't really tell you why, and you're wondering.
No closure.
And you're just like, right, it's no closure. And you're just like, that was odd and different. Okay. And then a whole year goes by. They reach out to you. You mention you're engaged and blah, blah, blah. And then you have this whole conversation about they broke up with me because I didn't want to have kids. And I'm like, right. And I'm like, you know what? I was better off just thinking that you were just an a-hole. Now you are a bit like
where's come back around to say that is like I don't understand.
We could have had that conversation. Like, why didn't we have the conversation? And his response was that, and this is who I was at that time. I remember you saying that you would marry if you got married. Well, first of all, you wouldn't have kids unless you got married. And if you got married and the husband wanted a kid, that you would have a kid. And that's where my mindset was at that point when I was dating this guy. Before my grandma made her statement about don't do that. And so, and he felt like, because he knew I felt that way, he felt like that he would have been using me. He did really love me. He wanted to be with me, but he felt like if because that's how I felt, that he felt like he would have been using me if we would have had a kid. Knowing I really didn't have one because he wanted to have a kid. And again, we could have had a whole adult conversation about this. You know, you date somebody, you vibe, and everything's there. You don't want the same things. There's really no need to get married. So that really pissed me off. But it also gave me a greater appreciation for my husband, because I'm like, he may have wanted kids just as badly, but he wanted me more. So I was like, I am enough, and I am enough for my husband. And so it was interesting because the whole time I said to God, like, why now? Why are you bringing this person back? And this is a person I really vibed with, and everything was cool until it wasn't. And I kept, you know, you looking at text messages and phone calls and stuff like, what did I say wrong? What did I do wrong? And then a whole year later, I'm like, so that's why you didn't think I was adult enough to handle that part of the conversation. So fast forward, he does have a kid. He's not married and he's not happy. And I'm like,
right. Anywho, that's his choice.
So yeah, it's so in that decision, some relationships they may not work out for you, and then you have relationships that do work out for you. But like you said, you just got to stick to, you know, who you are. And I think the most important part is being honest with yourself, because for a while I was not honest with myself, and I felt weird because society and they and them made me feel weird because of all the questioning of, why are you not having a kid? Are you sure you got to have just one? I'm gonna pray about it and blah, 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 blah. So once I was like, screw y'all, because like you said, when I have this kid, you gonna be here to help me push, watch the baby and all this other stuff? No.
Because I mean, what you're saying is like, it's confirmation. And Crystal said it too. Like, I don't want to have kids and have multiple, you know, situations. And now I'm arguing, or I have to, that's something real that we all have to think about, because marriage is not always forever. It's not like, so even if you do set out with certain intentions, it doesn't mean it's going to end up that way. So you really have to make sure that you're aligned, you know, before you even take that walk, you know. So it's that right there is just, and then him coming back, I feel like he might have thought about it. You know, he thought about it. And it's like, I let her go over not having kids,
Or
but now
look at
you
my
were taken.
situation.
Right. So it was too late. And
I have a child and now I'm not happy. Right.
I tell you.
Of course, I had to let him know that. I was like, yeah, and
I'm
my
engaged.
fiance, I'm still not having
the
kids, but he wants me more than, the kids.
Right.
So here we are. But
6 years later.
Right.
So like you said, that you're enough. You are enough. I love that, because sometimes people they enter into situations for the wrong reason, because they want someone to love them, when it all has to start with self-love.
Ourselves, right.
Yeah, and knowing that you're enough. I really, really love that. Love that. That's a whole word, like Crystal said.
I mean,
right?
And I'm proud of myself because I've grown into my voice. Like when I was younger, I was shy, and we were having this conversation earlier, Sinora, where it was like people were used to me just going with the flow, but now I'm like, no, like I want to do this, or I'm not doing this, no, and they'll be like, oh, and I'm like, yes, no, like this is not something I want to do. So it's like I'm proud of myself for standing up for myself and not feeling the pressure or being like, well, I don't know, let me think about this, when I know deep down in my heart I don't want to do that, and other things. So and I think it also took the courage of, well, after both of my parents dying and realizing that life is short. My dad had to be forced into retirement for his health and not able to like fully enjoy like the hard work and the money that he saved. He had to use it for his health, to finance his health. And then my mom did enjoy her life, but I dismiss her, like, and it's just like she's no longer here, and to see like her grandson grow up anymore physically, like she's here spiritually and in our hearts. I know, and he even talks about her like as she's here, like she visited me, or she says this, she's at auntie's house right now watching over her because she needs company. So it's just kind of like I just grew into myself, and the I am enough really stuck with me, because it's like you have to know what you want. And a lot of people are living their lives for other people and what other people want them to do. And you can't do that because you're not going to be happy, because you create your own happiness, not anyone else, just you. And people have to realize it. Not my husband, not my prince, not my besties and all that. It's me. And that's why I'm putting my foot down for my goals that I have for myself. And I don't want to be tied to the golden handcuffs forever. Like, granted, I'm not leaving my job anytime soon, but I'm doing my own thing externally, with my consulting business, for, helping people with funding and going to college debt free, but then also with my nonprofit, because that's my passion. So I'm doing more things for me opposed to just everyone else.
Right. It's real quick, something that you just made me think about. So 2 things. One is, like, how you just have those days where you're like, just imagine if fill in the blank, it would have been hard to do or whatever. So every once in a while, like if Randy and I are having a crazy day where we're trying to do something, whether it's the mail or something's coming and he's home and I'm not, and then something happened and I was like, can you imagine if we had kids? Like, how would we have done that? And he very matter of factly, I don't know, people figure it out all the time. I'm like, dude, it's not that simple.
You figure it out, but it's things you can't do sometimes because you have kids. I can't just go to bed at 5 p.m.
Nope.
Because I'm tired. Right. It's like, okay, so what's for dinner? Like, but I
can't sleep in, although I try.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to explain to him, and he just automatically. The other part about it is, and just with all of this, it's very fluid in terms of, like you're saying, you wanted to have a kid, you wanted to have multiple kids, you had one, and you're done. I've had a moment in time where I've thought about it, and then it was like going. And then you have the different, I call them the mommy checks, where saving Amari from falling down the steps, where I'm just like, oh, cool, that was cool. I got a little something of that in me. And then another thing that happened, Randy and I were dating at the time. And this is how I found out that I had motion sickness. Was in the car and I was like, oh my God, like pull over. Like I felt like I had to like vomit and nothing happened. Then we had something. So it was a combination of motion sickness. And then I realized I can't eat tuna. It makes me very nauseous. So I found all this out around the same time. And so a part of me was like, oh my God, what if I'm pregnant? And so it was this whole thing. We got to go get a pregnancy test. So like the Rite Aid was like right across the street. So we're going to walk to the store to get a pregnancy test. And he's like, wait. I was like, what? Let's have a conversation. I was like, about what? About what happens if you're pregnant? I was like, we're going to have that conversation now. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, that's smart. And I was like, so what if I'm pregnant? And he was like, well, it's your body, so it's your decision. I was like, you mean that? And I was like, so we talked about that, which I respected. Like, he wanted to see where my head was. I wanted to see where his head was. So we got the test, and I'm in the bathroom, and it came back negative. I'm just sitting on the toilet with the stick. So he knocks on the door. You okay? Yeah. Can I come in? I was like, yeah. He was like, you okay? I was like, yeah, it's negative. He was like, you okay? I was like, yeah. He was like, you look disappointed. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy, not like you're some buster who I just met last night where I would be like, oh God, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. You know. So yes, like I like
Seeing
like
your whole life flash before you.
Yes, like, oh my life is ruined. Like I was like, yeah, like I'm happy. I said, but I just had thoughts like, I don't know if I can get pregnant. Like, I don't know if I can get pregnant because I never tried. And then I said, and if I got pregnant, it would be by you. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
Right.
So I said, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like, damn, I'm not pregnant. It was just like, huh.
What
if I did get
it's with you, right? Right.
For him, he's a good man. I know he'll be a great dad.
He'll be a great dad.
The timing is not right. Would I have the so then it's all of that. But I also was just kind of like, gee, I wonder if I can get pregnant. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I said, so that's what you're saying. He was like, okay, as long as you're okay, gave me a kiss, and then that was it.
Oh,
it was just weird. It was one of those things where I was like, huh. It was just interesting because I didn't know how I was going to feel. Like I was relieved, but it wasn't like this huge relief. Like, oh, thank you, God. It was just like,
okay.
Woo. It was just like, whoa,
okay, yeah.
And it was just like, your face, you look really disappointed, and I was like, I don't know.
I think as a woman, like we want to know that like
we can
our body functions correctly, and you know what I mean. And that also is just like a sign of like general health and good fertility. So I think we just want the choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm glad you said that. Like if a doctor, something happened and the doctor was like, we got to do a hysterectomy, I'll be like, no, don't take my womanly stuff. I ain't doing nothing with it. But let me have the choice.
Yes, the choice.
If I want to turn the switch on for some reason.
Let me make the decision.
Let me make that decision. Like, don't take that away from me. So,
yeah, it's my right. It's my right.
Right.
So,
so I want to quickly share because we're talking about IUDs. So that's the theme of today. So,
those things.
Right before Zupenda knows this, right before I got pregnant with Amari, I think it was November, I went to my OBGYN and she was like, oh, well, do you want to get an IUD? And I was like, no, I really don't want to get it. Like I've heard really bad things about it. So no, I don't want. And prior to that, I was on Depo for a while. And I was like, I want to stop the shots. Like I don't want to keep doing that to prevent having another child. So I was like, no, I'm going to try to talk to my husband about getting a vasectomy. Talk to the husband. He's like, I don't know. And then fast forward 2 months later, and then I got pregnant with Amari. Was I 39?
Ever since she was like, I told him no to the IUD.
So I text,
you better do.
I text Zupenda on the train to work. I send her, I think I don't know.
I said, how are you doing? Test. And you said, oh, got a lot going on. No. And you said, my world's a little bit upside down right now. I said, okay, I'm driving. I see the phone and I texted
her the pregnancy test with the positive.
No, it wasn't the pregnancy test.
Sonogram.
No, it was a sonogram. You said, see?
Amari's first sonogram.
He's upside down. I almost crashed. I had to pull over.
The confirmation.
Like, yes. I called her. I said, you do not text me a picture.
Right.
And I told you to get on birth control and you ain't listening. Now look at you. And I was like, wait, congratulations. Are we happy?
Right. Are we happy? Let me figure out if we happy.
Are we celebrating? What we doing?
She kept it real.
Yeah.
So what we do? Where we at?
Right. Where we at before?
How you feel about this? Because I wasn't trying to have another one.
Right. I was like, we just had this conversation, and I
We
was like, you
just had this
before you get
conversation.
pregnant. I know you don't want to have any more kids. So I was like, am I sending you flowers, balloons? Am I planning a shower? What are you doing?
I was like, I need
and
some more time.
A lot of couples have had I don't want to say like oops baby, but like that baby that we weren't expecting.
No, Amari,
right?
You
know what I mean?
Unplanned,
unplanned, right? I don't want to say
everybody knows
the net like
oops baby,
but and it's just but what if some women think about what if what I'm saying? I guess sometimes we don't think about that, and then you're surprised and it's like, oh my goodness, I was not expecting this, you know what I mean? And I think that it takes a certain amount, like when you were saying, Zupenda, that you grew up and you kind of always felt that way and your family kind of had a sense of it, like it takes to me a certain amount of like self-reflection and you know what I mean, and just like knowing who you are to stand in like, no, I'm not, this is not for me. Because then what happens if you do get pregnant, if you don't prevent it, you have a child and then you raise that child to feel resented,
less than
unwanted, because
even with Amari getting pregnant, with Amari, there was a lot of judgment. So I think that's a common theme. So people were like, you're 39. Like, what do you just started a new job. Gamal just started a new job. Like, this is the worst timing. Like, how did you all let this happen? There was a lot of judgment surrounding my pregnancy with Amari. And so I just said, you know what? I'm not listening to any of it. And I just kind of shut down. I'm like, you're going to be negative towards me. I'm not talking to you. Don't talk to me. Don't text me. Don't nothing.
Right.
Because I knew I didn't want that energy transferring to Amari. And if you know, Zupenda knows, Sinora knows, Crystal, you will know, he is the most joyful, happy.
So sweet.
As soon as he was born, that child was full of joy, happiness, and that's all he exudes 24/7. And that's because I was like, I'm not letting anybody's judgment or negativity about this pregnancy affect my child. Y'all can go to hell.
That's why I was like, where are we? So I know how to respond appropriately.
And we didn't, I mean, it took us like a few weeks to be like, okay, there were some conversations that had to be had. Because I was like, this was like the first thing in my life that was unplanned. Like even Gavin and Gemma were planned because it was like 2 years of infertility. Right. So this was totally the opposite, peeing on the stick and it being pregnant right away. I never 2 years of pregnancy test without a positive pregnancy. And then it was also with Amar, it was my pregnancy was so much easier because I had the twins first and then I had a one. I was like, oh, this is easy. This is easy. I wasn't sick. I vomited once. Gavin and Gemma, I vomited for like 3 months. So it was, it was, besides getting him out was horrible, but it was a very easy pregnancy.
I hear they said the second one is easier, but I'm not signing
No,
up.
It was so much easier.
For some people it is.
For some people it
isn't.
The IUD was enough for me.
It's Russian roulette. But I mean, thank God you were the type of person who could, say, I'm not going to let any negativity affect the child, or, you were in touch at least with your emotions and you had, ways of coping and dealing with those emotions. But what about people who don't? I just think about kids, we see things on the news every day, where people are stressed out and the whole family's gone, you know what I mean? And so it's like, these are conversations we need to normalize. This doesn't need to be taboo. This shouldn't be like, what? I don't want to have any kids. Like, this should not be like this, because take the pressure off. You know what I mean? Like, it's your life. It's my life. I get to do what I want with it. And just because I'm a woman and I have 2 ovaries does not mean that I have to have a bunch of kids. I don't have to have any. So, and you know what I mean? It's a very important conversation.
And I, and Jill knows, like, I haven't done it in a while, but after there comes a time where I get bombarded with the questions. I think people know not to ask me anymore. I've unfriended people on Facebook.
I've done it too.
And
whatever you
I would
gotta
just
do.
do these rants about people asking about being pregnant. People would be like, "Oh my God, somebody asked you that?" I'm like, it's so annoying. So I would do like these rants and stuff like that because it would just be so frustrating. And it's interesting because every time I do one of those rants, somebody's in my DM, a woman that's like, if I had to do it all over again, real talk, I wouldn't. And I'm like, but this is the part where you say that they're amazing and you love them and you can't picture. And they was like, nah. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
And
There's a lot of
I
women.
had someone else tell me a
Yes.
guy, and he was like, if I had to do it all over again, it's like, nah. I was like,
There's a
you
lot
don't
of
mean
people.
that. He was like, no, I mean that. I was like, okay.
oh no, that's a
yeah.
lot of people. That's probably a majority of people.
But it's just like, the kids are here now, so you
Right.
don't
So
want
what
to
you
say
gonna
that.
right? So what you gonna do?
But these are real human emotions, and we should all be allowed to feel it and live in our truth, so.
Right. And that was my thing. I guess I was just surprised, like, wow. And I said, okay. And I'm like, what do you say to that? Like, sorry, man. Like,
no, but you know what? You gave them the courage, even though they're in your DM saying it, but you at least you gave them an ear. You were more than a sympathetic ear because you actually experienced this. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel like, and I hope that some listeners can really take away from your situations, because both of you women are powerhouses, you know what I mean? And just phenomenal women and sister friends and just, you know what I mean? And aunties and mommies, but at the same time, just like living in your truth, you know what I mean? So for me, like, I love it and I honor you. And I thank you for being candid and really sharing all these, your experiences with us, because maybe it'll help somebody else to live in their truth.
It's definitely going to help our listeners for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm like Zupenda's grandmother. If somebody asks me about parenthood, like I'll tell them, like, once they come, you can't give them back. Like, you have to make sure this is what you want to do. And I tell people, like, even if you're in a relationship, like, it's still gonna be mainly you. So you just have to keep that in mind and do it when you're ready. So
see, this is just the beginning of this conversation because
I know
there's so many myths about motherhood for sure. But I'm with Crystal because I came from 3. I was the oldest and I had 2 younger brothers, but my mother would say to me, when you have kids, they're yours.
Yeah.
They're not anybody else. I didn't really understand that.
That's it.
And now with 3 myself, like I get like how the load of how much it is with having 3 children.
Yeah.
And Gamal is an excellent father. He does so much with he's an excellent father.
So
he's so involved.
Super
more than me. And he's their teacher. I'm not, because I'll teach full time. I'm not teaching these kids. I
understand that though, Jeff.
I teach them real life skills, how to cook, clean.
Right. They're always
be a good person. Be compassionate.
Yes,
know hip hop music. Know how to dance.
Right. Let me
write in your journal. Get your feelings out in a healthy way. That kind of stuff. Other than that, I'm not teaching them anything else. But it's still a lot because, like,
it is a lot.
I'm like, I'm gonna change my name.
Just that, mommy.
Stop calling me. Stop calling.
Listen, when I hear even like
I'm like, I'm watching. Like different.
No, when people are just like, Mother's Day, I just want to be left alone or use the bathroom by myself. I'm like, oh, that's reason 65. Everybody knows I have a running list of 1,001 reasons why I'm child free. Somebody else say something, and they'll know. I'll just put that's reason 264, and everybody just cracks up because they be like, "All right, Zupenda, what reason number is that?" I'm like,
"You on point with that because they do follow you in the bathroom. Even now, with us having our own bathroom in our new house, these children, thank God, there's a lock. They still will try to come in the bathroom.
Him coming in the bathroom unless he handed me toilet paper. Like,
Noah picks the lock. Okay.
Oh yeah, they will pick the lock.
No privacy.
Yes, they will.
None. I have no privacy. What'd you say, Crystal? You on mute?
One day it was number 2, like I was in there. I'm like, my husband was in there and my little one. I was like, I know I'm doing them too. They're like, yeah. And both of them just talking to me. I was like, don't
They
like,
don't care.
care.
I'm
Oh
like,
my
They don't
God.
like,
care.
They don't care.
And I was like, this flesh then. Like, you want us to flesh? Like, what? We in here.
But I'm trying to tell you,
They
and
don't
I
care.
like to do that in private.
Me too.
Can I just
They don't
like,
care.
God,
No, I
like
will
sometimes
say
it
my
won't
husband,
come.
he will not stick around for a number two. Like he'll
that's
open.
nice.
They're like, oh God. I'll be
They
like,
love
no,
me.
nobody
whole
told you to come
lot.
They
in.
think it's funny.
A
when
whole
They
it's
think
lot.
it's so funny.
like,
Yes.
you're
Even when
pooping.
like I had bath time recently and he was knocking on the door, well, mommy, open up. Like, why don't you open up? I said, it's mommy's time. He came back a good 4 times. I
Yep.
sure did not open up.
Yep.
I was like, this is my dedicated time. You didn't want to take a bath? Mommy's getting in here first, and then that's that. Like,
Yep.
That's about the only privacy I have. That's right. Exactly.
That was for me. Sorry.
Right.
So look, reason 265.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Mother's Day
by herself.
Right,
Yeah.
you were talking about Mother's Day, like for my birthday. I'm like, no, I want a hotel room. I want a spa package.
Yes.
Room.
Yes.
I want a king size bed where I don't have to like. My little
Chair.
one got mad at me one year. I didn't answer my phone before he was going to school to wish me happy birthday. I put my phone on the other side of the room. I didn't want to like alarm, no nothing. I want to wake up naturally when I felt like it.
When I feel like waking up.
Because there are times where I've even asked Jill or even my best friend, like, what are you doing? You need to get out the house. Come on. Like, I'm going to take you, whatever, meet up for an hour.
I get out the house.
You got to get out the house.
Before COVID.
Yeah.
See, you're a girl's girl. And that's that right there.
That's funny with the phone. And so, you know, my husband, he travels. So this COVID thing has really been a struggle because I'm not used to him being here. Like I married into like the most time we would spend together would be like 10 days straight. And then he's going for a week. He's going for a month. He's going for whatever. So there are times where I'm just like, every once in a while, like lately with COVID, he's gotten like an in-person show that's kind of far where he has to like stay at a hotel. And I'm like, almost over the bed, like, oh, just
see, Zupenda, so your lifestyle was really designed. You know, it sounds like you and your husband, right?
Yeah, I was like, yes. Yeah. And as and it's funny because everybody's like, oh my God, I'm sure you miss him. I'm like, if he's going for a month, I was like, but because the norm is that he's going more than he's here. That's all I know. It's not like he was working a 9 to 5 and then he decided I'm gonna do, you know, trips for a living.
Now.
Right.
Like that's all I know. And when we dated, you know, we were both in a doctoral. Well, no, we were friends when we were in a doctoral program, but then he left to do magic full time, and then, you know, I was still in the doctoral program. That's when we started dating. But it was kind of like the whole ships passing in the night thing was kind of just what we knew. And so now. This year has been hard. Well, last year's been hard because I'm like, damn, you still here?
Yeah, we all could use a little break, right? We could all use a little break.
Yeah. So I'm just like, oh my God, like, what do I do? I think that what saves us is that I am essential and I do have to go to the office every day. I think that has saved our marriage.
You're probably right.
We had 2 snow days this week and I was just like, oh my God.
But you know what? Look, your story is really inspirational because for some people who don't want to have children, you can still have it all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know,
like, you want to have it, right.
Yeah. And
because all is how we define it, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I get older, just the whole solitude and time to myself and quiet are very important to me. And you don't realize it until that changes.
Oh, yeah. Don't we know?
Well, Zupenda we are also dance partners. I forgot that. So we typically, you know, hit up a party. We both love
Zupenda.
Oh yes.
Oh, I'm coming out there.
Oh yes.
Crystal is my dance partner. That's the rug partner. We used to hit the middle of the dance floor all the time.
All right. When outside open up for real, we're going to have to find a party.
Because every time we go to a party, somebody always wants to talk to us, and because we in the moment. And
doing I don't know why she telling that story. Somebody want to talk to her. Pregnant and all. I'm like,
oh my God.
How you getting hit on with the belly, the rings, and the whole 9? I'm like,
Some people find that more attractive.
They do.
I don't know
men
why.
that like pregnant women.
She's talking about talk to us. They always want to talk to you. They be like, hey, how you doing? And then she's like, they talking to you. I'm like, they talking to you.
That's not true. That is not true.
All right, ladies, I think we could go on and on.
More information on your amazing podcast hosts, please visit www.atribecalledfertility.com. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us. It really helps the show, and we welcome the feedback. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so that you know when we're dropping new content.